Welcome back to Ask Amy. I have a question today from Katie. This is a nice, short and simple one, I think. So Katie says, a lot of my thoughts are negative and catastrophic and often don't materialize into reality. However, recently I've had some what-if scenario thoughts where the bad outcome has actually come to fruition. It's thrown me. It's no longer just a thought because it has happened. How does this work with this understanding, please? So, Katie, having a thought showing up, and then something that looks like that, a match to that circumstance showing up in your life, does not mean that it's no longer just a thought. So behind that for you, there's your mind wanting to say, see, thoughts are true. Really, that's kind of what's behind this whole thing. See, I knew my thoughts were true. Therefore, I should pay attention because sometimes, not always, a lot of the time, no, but every once in a while, something I think does come to fruition. Therefore, there's something going on here with thoughts. They're true, they're real, they deserve my attention, whatever. That's what's behind this kind of question. And I don't even know that you think that, but that's totally the logic that a mind is going for. When your mind asks this question, it's basically saying, you better come back to trusting me full on 100%. Because look, you had a thought and then it happened. Done. It's a little like saying, I had a dream about a bunny last night, and then on Thursday this week, I saw a bunny in my yard. Does that mean that dreams are true? That we should trust everything in our dreams, that it all means something? No, it just means a bunny showed up in a dream and a bunny showed up in a yard. And look at all the times when all kinds of things show up in a thought or a dream, same thing. Thoughts and dreams are the exact same thing. When something showed up there that didn't show up in life, or that did, and it was completely discounted and ignored. And all of this is just a mind trying to use very kind of illogical logic to try to get us to listen to it and trust it and pay attention to it. So I think what you really want to do in this case, because I hear you. I mean, it really is easy to say like, oh my gosh, I thought this, and then look, it happened. And that brings all this fear and all this attention to thought. But again, just recognize how many things you thought that didn't happen. And you even say it in here. So the logic is not sound logic whatsoever. If we did an experiment on this and measured things and looked for statistical significance, I mean, it's horrible. There's no causal connection here whatsoever. But the mind will kind of dupe us into thinking that there is. So given that you're, at least in theory, on to the fact that thoughts aren't the truth, that no thought is true, no thought can be true, even if you hold that with a lot of suspicion, but you're somewhat open to it, that's amazing. I think you want to play with that extreme. You really want to kind of play with that extreme. Like, what if nothing I think is true? And yes, sometimes, coincidentally, a thought will be here and something will show up that looks like a match, and my mind will argue that to death and say, for sure, this is proof, blah, blah, blah. Okay, well, if you're gonna trust that connection, that argument, you gotta kind of look around. You have to kind of look on all sides of it. How many things showed up in thought that didn't show up in your real life, and vice versa, and all the combinations. But nobody really wants to do that through life, I wouldn't think. You really, though, want to kind of, rather than let your mind kind of try to say prove me wrong, what if you kind of slide to this side and you go to the extreme of hey, what if nothing is true? What if nothing I've ever thought is the truth? And then you just kind of hold that loosely and see what shows up around that. That's where I think you're going to have a lot more traction. And what your mind is doing, trying to keep you engaged in this for these reasons and because of this one little piece of evidence, totally what a mind would do. Not a problem at all there. But the logic doesn't stand up. It doesn't mean what your mind is saying it means. So I hope that's helpful. Thank you for sending your question. Everyone can send questions to askamy@thelittleschoolofbigchange.com. And I will see you next Monday. Bye, everyone.